4 or 5 times, maybe 3 or 4 times.
And those would not have been in person, those simply would have been over the phone, right?
Correct.
Now, somewhere along the line, you got introduced to Rusty, right?
Via email and phone, correct.
You never actually met him in person, right?
No, we were supposed to meet in December for lunch.
Okay, but you had not done so, right?
No, sir.
Obviously, and Rusty was dead by December. How is it that you got hooked up or connected to Rusty?
Hemi had told me when he was passed up with the promotion at GE that he was looking for outside positions and that Rusty was looking for a business to purchase and that he was going to bring Hemi on to be the CFO. And I was putting Rusty in touch with my ex-husband, who is an attorney and has a business attorney and has a lot of clients who have businesses for sale. So trying to make that commission, trying to put 2 and 2 together.
No problem with that, ma'am. So Hemi Newman told you that he was contemplating leaving GE, correct?
Yes.
When is it that he told you that he was contemplating leaving GE?
I don't recall.
Do you recall how many times he would have told you that?
Once or twice.
Okay. To your understanding, he was working at GE at the time, correct?
Yes, sir.
The woman of whom he was fond was also working at GE, correct?
Yes.
They were going on GE business trips together, correct?
Yes.
But what you are telling us is that Hemi Newman was thinking about leaving his job where the other woman worked. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, you talked to Rusty on the phone and I guess communicated with him electronically, right?
Yes.
Again, you don't know when that was, I guess, do you?
I don't recall.
Fair enough. At some point, did you figure out, did you know Rusty's last name?
At some point, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And at some point, did you find out Andrea's last name?
Yes.
Do you know when that was?
I do not recall.
Okay. Was it before Rusty's murder?
Well, yes.
Okay. So at some point, you knew that Hemi Newman was infatuated with Andrea Sneiderman, correct?
Yes.
You knew that Andrea Sneiderman was married to Rusty Sneiderman, correct?
Yes.
And you were in contact with Rusty Sneiderman in regard to a possible business deal, correct?
Correct.
And again, not wanting to beat a dead horse, you had no communication or no contact with Mrs. Sneiderman, did you?
Correct.
Now, November the 18th, do you remember that day?
I do.
You had had surgery 2 days earlier, correct?
Correct.
And as such were partially laid up, I guess, right?
Yes, sir, pretty much.
Something with your ankle?
My foot.
Foot, okay. And otherwise you probably would have been at the office.
Definitely.
And your office is in very close proximity to Dunwoody Prep, correct?
Our office, it's in the back, right behind it.
Okay. Can you estimate in terms of yards how far one is from the other?
From the back of our building to Dunwoody Prep, maybe 200 yards?
Okay. You were not, however, there that morning when the shooting occurred, correct?
Correct.
At some point, you were home on the 18th, right?
Yes.
Did you hear the news about a shooting in Dunwoody?
Yes.
Did you find out at some point during the course of the day on the 18th that the person shot had been Rusty Sneiderman?
Yes.
Did you immediately go, wait a second, that's the guy I've been communicating with over the phone and electronically?
Yes.
And did you think, that's the guy who's married to Andrea Sneiderman?
Yes.
And did you think, that's the guy who Hemi Newman is infatuated with?
Yes.
When did you go with that information to the police?
When did I didn't?
Okay. And the reason you didn't is because you could not possibly begin to imagine that Hemi Newman could possibly have committed such a crime, could you?
No.
You had talked to Hemi Newman many, many times during the months of August, maybe July, September, October, November of 2010, correct?
Yes.
You knew he had a thing for Andrea Sneiderman, correct?
Yes.
But there was nothing about his personality that led you to conclude that he could have committed such a crime, was there?
No.
Now, did you talk to Hemi on the 18th?
I did.
And who called whom, if you recall?
I called him.
Okay. And what do you recall that conversation, ma'am?
That I told him it was too close to home.
Okay. And when you said too close to home, both physically and by virtue of the fact that you knew these folks, right?
Yes, sir.
What was his response?
Crazy, I know.
Okay. Did he seem upset?
He was upset for Andrea, yes.
Did he say anything about whether he was going to go to Rusty's funeral?
I don't know if he said it on that day, but yes, I was aware he was going to Rusty's funeral.
And did he go and sit Shiva at the Sneiderman household?
Yes.
Now, for the benefit of those of us who are not Jewish, could you briefly explain sitting Shiva, what exactly that entails and means?
Shiva, you sit Shiva after a death of someone, and that's how you mourn them for an extended period of time, 5 to 7 days as usual.
Now, you would not have gone and sat Shiva at the house, would you?
No, sir.
You didn't really know these folks.
Correct.
I mean, you didn't know Andrea. You didn't really know Rusty, right?
Correct.
Okay. But Hemi did, apparently, right?
Correct.
Okay. And sometime after that, you and he got into a phone conversation about the subject of who on earth would have done this, right?
Correct.
Did Hemi offer any theories as to who might have done this?
Yes.
Tell us about those.
He said that Rusty had a individual come from California who was going to do voiceovers, like famous people voiceovers for recordings, and that the deal had gone sour, and that person had gone back to California, and that person had stayed with Rusty and Andrea at their home, and he said that it could have been that person who was angry about the falling out of the deal.
So Hemi Newman is speculating that some poor guy in California might have been the actual killer, correct?
I'm going to object at this juncture as to the relevance of this, as to who Hemi thought did what.
Your Honor, I think
Response?
it goes directly to the credibility and reliability of Hemi Newman. The jury, if they're going to accept the testimony of Ms. White, is going to have to believe that Hemi Newman is a credible individual. I expect the evidence is going to show that Hemi Newman is the killer. If he is accusing someone else, I think that has a significant effect on his credibility and is a relevant issue for this jury.
Response?
Your Honor, I agree his credibility is something that's fair game. However, the questions that were asked and the answers that were given were in relation to an affair. As counsel has enlightened all of us on several occasions, his client's not charged with murder. She's charged with lying about having a romantic relationship, and that's what the evidence was tendered for.
All right, I'm going to sustain the objection. Let's move on.
Okay, Your Honor, may I?
Exceptions noted.
Well, I need to make a further objection for the record, and I need to put something else on the record as well. I might do so right now.
Oh, sure you can. Ladies and gentlemen, where's my deputy? You let the jury step out. Just step out into the jury room. Madam Witness, you can step outside for a minute. Where's my deputy? If you could just step into the jury. It'll be a brief break. Go ahead and refresh yourself at this point in time. And it'll be a normal brief period, so move aggressively. Ms. White, you can come on down and step outside for a minute, please.